I forgot my door. Welcome to Optional Rule. My name is Scott. I'm your host of this weekly show. I do D&D live session prep here and discussion weekly at noon on Saturdays Eastern Time. I'm going to be talking today about how to wrap up and end a D&D campaign chapter. I'm still in the midst of a campaign, but I love to stage my campaign so that it has big multiple climaxes that advance the plot, bring the players forward, give them a few levels, and let them walk forward in their sort of power and get to other interests as well. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today. My setup is not quite done, so I'm going to have to ask you to bear with me for a second as I try to get up my latest web browser. Yeah, that should do it. All right, it's a little wide. I'll adjust it. All right, you. 1 second as you watch me do this in compelling live stream action. All right. All right. Thanks, everybody. So I'm going to be doing my live prep today. If you have questions, comments, I really hope you'll go. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so you can read it easier. I hope you'll go ahead and leave it down on the tavern wall. Ask your questions. I don't get tons of traffic. This is a small channel. I try as hard as I can to answer all the questions and thank people for their comments and all of that stuff. So I hope you'll give a comment, like, subscribe, share this video, share any of my content from my blog, my Twitter. Please share that, retweet it with other people. It helps me grow a little bit of my content. I'm just looking to make a difference with people in the D&D community and tabletop role-playing community. Help give some advice of my 40 years of running games and playing in games in hopes that you'll be able to run a game too, that you will find an interest and get over whatever it is that might be blocking you from either running a game or running more games or doing that thing that you think you're passionate about or refining your point of view for what you have to say in the gaming space. I hope this show helps you in some small way to do that. I love it. Gaming has been one of the things that I've done more throughout my entire life than almost anything else. And I just have really enjoyed it. So I hope you enjoy it too. And I hope this show helps you along with it. And I hope it helps you find a dialogue for D&D and tabletop role-playing games. Sorry, just in my place in the world so you can hear me a little bit better. Someone's hitting me up on Discord. All right. So again, if you have any questions, comments, thoughts, anything like that, I would love to hear it. Welcome to the show. It is great to have you here. What I am going to be talking about today, I'm going to talk about our next session coming up. And really, I have some theory crafting I'll do at the first half of the show, and then I'll talk about the implementations of that in my actual notes. But really, where I am right now is I am looking to create a great climax for a segment of my campaign. Campaigns, especially in modern Dungeons and Dragons, I'm running Rime of the Frost Maiden right now. These things are long. They tend to run almost year-long campaigns with the books that they publish every year. So I like to break them up so they have milestones story-wise throughout the entire book campaign. Rime of the Frost Maiden is very modular. Each of these small 10 Towns adventures and then the Icewind Dale adventures can be run like a self-contained one-shot adventure, or maybe they'll run more than one shot. But I have chosen instead to create a central plot lines through the entire thing, sometimes based on what's going on in the world, sometimes based on what's going on with the players' backstories. And I like to break this up so I have a plot that I've brought the players into, that they've seen play out in front of them, that reaches some climax where they make the difference in the world as to why it went one way or another, and that launches them onto the next set of adventures. And they're at their second one for this campaign right now. The first one was this adventure, a heavily modified version of the adventure called Cold Hearted Killer in Rime of the Frost Maiden, Icewind Dale. That is up on my blog at optionalrule.com, so go ahead and check that out. But that's a heavily modified, I think there's this thing called Cold Hearted Killer. It's basically a go to this location and kill this person quest. I decided instead what I would make it is a story that would last through levels 1 and 2. That's about this tiger tribe caravan who's been hiding amongst the 10 towns. They're out there currying favor with the Ice Maiden, trying to get their tribe to turn towards the Ice Maiden and be one of their chosen people. And so they've been out killing to honor the Frost Maiden, and they're pursuing this magical item called the Mantle of the Wild, which taps into old shamanistic abilities from the Tiger Tribe's early days. And the players had to follow them, uncover their trail of murder and deceit, find out where they were going, and they had a final confrontation with that crew in a tomb of an ancient hero of the tiger tribe, one of the players being a wolf tribe member, so they have some personal connection with all of this. So that climaxed. It was a great climax, very difficult fight, and it sort of wrapped the players up and took them from this level 1 and 2, very personal, individualized story, and launched them into the greater problems of the 10-town regions themselves, which is the second chapter they've been in. Now, I've published a lot of this on my blog, again, optionalrule.com. Go ahead and check that out. You can click on the Rime of the Frost Maiden remix tags that I have there. I've posted, I think, the Cold Hearted Killer remix. I've done the setup for the 10 Towns. I've done a Lake Monster remix there. And I've done the Cauldron Caves, which is, they're in the middle of this chapter too. Oh, I haven't done that yet. Oh, I'm going to post all that after I finish up this chapter. That's why I haven't posted it yet, because it's hard to break this apart. Now, that makes, when you modify central plot lines like this, it's something that adds a lot of excitement and a lot of intricacy to the game. But it does make these things harder to publish, because everything is sort of dependent on another item, and you have this emergent gameplay that happens, which is what I love about D&D. But it does make it hard to express what's going on. So anyway, the chapter 2, after having wrapped up this hunt for the Mantle of the Wild by these tiger tribesmen in chapter 1, now in chapter 2, the players discovered that there's a conspiracy in the 10 Towns involving a faction that I created called the Chartland Syndicate, which is a criminal faction trying to take over the Speaker's Council of the 10 Towns. They can't quite get to that part of taking it over because the good people of the 10 Towns have held on, but as this disaster of the Oriole's long winter has gone on and on and on, people are getting more and more tired, and they've grabbed more power. So we've climaxed now. There's a couple of moving elements. One, the Chartland Syndicate has been trying to subvert the legitimate Speaker's Council by interrupting the supply lines coming into Icewind Dale to feed the people. At the same time, they formed an alliance with the Duergar dwarves to smuggle in other supplies to supply the people of the 10 Towns, just to make them look good, but it was never really enough. It was just to make them look good and make them mad, make the people mad at the legitimate Speaker's Council. So it's climax and in the midst of all this as well, there's this concept in the modules. Obviously, by the way, spoilers for Rime of the Frost Maiden. And if you're in my group, you probably want to go away, come back a couple weeks later, and you can hear how all this sausage got made. But so anyway, that smuggling conspiracy and the conspiracy of the Chartland Syndicate is merged as well with this magical Heart of Winter region that I added to the 10 Towns. You can find that on my blog. I did publish that. In the Rime of the Frost Maiden, they have set up this storyline where each of the 10 Towns makes a sacrifice every month at the new moon to Oriole for no reason that they say in the module. It's just basically to appease her, but I didn't feel like that had enough traction. So instead, I used the concept of magical regions from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. I created one and said that every month at the new moon, they would have one of these magical region effects that happened across the area, which could be a severe icing, an invasion by Yeti, a transfer to Eddie. There's like 20 different effects that could happen, but they're all not good for the people living there. And so the 10 people of the 10 Towns found that if they did these sacrifices, they could avoid that magical region coming back during the new moon. So there have some towns that are sacrificing people. There's some towns sacrificing warmth. This actually has a plot tie-in to the chapter 2. So the chapter 2 plot is to unravel that mystery of the magical region, to free the 10 Towns, to give them a little bit of breathing room so they don't have to continue with these sacrifices. They can get fed a little bit, and they're not facing the danger of these magical effects every month. Now, the players don't know it, but they're about to go into a location that is the reason for these magical effects to happen. So I've got everything converging at Shir Dinaval. And that is that the Duergar dwarves smuggling supplies to the Chartland Syndicate, letting them undermine the 10 Towns. This is the pathway in to the 10 Towns. This is how they're bringing their wagons in. The players have discovered that. They know they're about to shut that off. What they don't know, however, is the Arcane Brotherhood has brokered a deal between a devil prince, and a prince of hell, and the Chartland Syndicate, basically, where this prince is causing this magical region to happen every month, and this magical effect. the reason what's in it for them is they want to reap servants in this world. So the original plot of the it's called Black Swords in the module. They that plot is a cult that serves this devil, this prince of hell. For no real reason, but that's not shade on the module creators, by the way. By their nature, module creation at the official level has to try to be agnostic, to create all of this space for all of us creators who are running campaigns to add all of these individual stories in. And if they came in with a super heavy point of view, it would not leave much room for us to customize this module. So this is a good thing. This is something I actually like about this module. So anyway, back to this. So the story is that the Devil Prince has what she's doing is trying to create a convergence zone in Icewind Dale. That's what all of this, I've added this. That's what all this night stuff is. She's trying to get planes to converge in this area. Every plane that has some sort of ice element to it, the Nine Hells has an ice layer. Shadowfell has an ice region. That's converging where she's trying to create her own pocket dimension here in Icewind Dale. So all of these other princelings of stuff are cutting deals with her. Now this teases chapter 3. I'm ending chapter 2 with a tease to chapter 3. What this Devil Prince does is they get cultists, because out in the magic region, when people die in the midst of these magic regions, the Devil Prince visits them just before they die and makes a deal with them, because that's what devils do. I will save you if you will sign your soul over to me and serve me. So these Black Knights are people who are either sacrificed from the 10 towns or they get caught in this magical region. They were visited by by the Prince of Hell, and they agreed to cut that deal with the devil. Okay, I will serve you if you save my life. So now they're all in there. They have these special powers. Again, I added this where they're mostly just cultists from the book, stat block wise, but they in the book, they get covered in this layer of ice if they die. That's unmeltable. You can't break through it. And they're just that way for 9 days. But there's nothing to it. So what I added instead was, actually, it's not 9 days, it's 12 hours. 12 hours later, they come back to life. That worked super well in the previous adventure. Coming into this one, the players, when they got into Shir Dinaval, had fought with some of these Knights of the Black Sword, they're called, these cultists, trying to smuggle one of these wagons to uncover more clues about the smuggling operation. They killed them. They won that fight. They killed them. They go into the castle, and we ended last session with them just having climbed into the keep it's not a castle, it's a keep, to go further in and discover more. So when I open this session, the gates open. There's somebody at the gatehouse saying, we've got people here. They see come through the gate the people that they killed the day before, clothes still tattered, and tell them about the ambush on the roadway. So the players now are, oh my God, these people came back from the dead. There's something way more going on. So the players, the plot here is the players need to get further into the keep, fight through some of these cultists. They'll uncover the pathway into the Underdark, so they'll have an option, if they do it right, to shut down the smuggling line. And then they'll find out that the contract with this Prince of Hell that enables these magic regions and enables the power of these knights of these cultists is scrolled on the skin of the old elderly speaker that hasn't, from this town, that hasn't been seen in some time. So they'll get into the basement. They'll realize there's some magical trap with this person sort of floating in midair. They were a paladin back in their younger days, and so that's an arch rival of this Prince of Hell. And now the devil has come to take this Devil Prince has come to take advantage of this paladin. So they'll be floating there with this infernal script written all over their body. If the players can read that, I'm not actually sure they can, but they'll be able to figure out this is a contract. And by healing this person, by breaking the magic and healing this person, they'll end the contract, and it'll end the magical region. It will take away the power of the cultist. And I haven't actually quite figured out if I'll just have them fall down and die, or I'll have them be mortal, or they'll begin to waste away. Oh, I kind of like that idea. What would be a great climax? So that's where I want to come. How do I do all of climax? So the convergence of all this is shut down the smuggling lines and the magical region, and it will push and it'll tease the next set of adventures. So those are the two things. So they can collapse the tunnel into the Underdark. They can destroy the scroll, the deal, the contract with the Prince of Hell that enables all of this magical power that is endangering the towns. Now, I like that. I have to think of something flavorful. Like in a stream, it's nice to say, but playing out in the session, that's a harder sell, right? I other than me just telling players something cool happened, I want something physical to happen for their characters. So I use a tech. I'm not going to go through this because I've gone through it every time I've done a stream. But this is a technique called Return to the Lazy Dungeon Master. It's called Lazy DM Prep. But it's by a guy named Sly Flourish, who I encourage you to check them out. They're really great. But this is the technique for that, where I list like strong start, potential scenes. I add a few things like what do I want out of it. So you can see here, what do I want out of this session? I want this to be the climax to the tease storylines of the 10 towns. I want to shut down the Duragar supply lines. I want to end the magical region effect. And this is all potentially. If the players muck it up, this goes the other way, right? And I will release the speaker of Cher Dinaval. I want to pay off the Harper timeline, which I'll talk about in a second. And the players feel free to get to the wider region. So after this adventure, the players will hit 4th level. That's the point in the module where they do these region-wide adventures. I want the players to feel like they've secured the 10 towns, that they don't need to turtle up there, that they can go and explore the wider region. So hopefully they'll end this magical region. They'll free the supply line so the people can at least eat and survive in this time where they take a look into the wider region. And so the Harper timeline, that's another payoff for these adventures always get complex. That's setting up the next. That's paying off a player character backstory element, and it is setting up some of the next set of adventures. One of the things that makes this difficult to do is I want to do those things, like I said, where they get, first of all, let me actually go into Foundry. So I use Foundry VTT. I really love it. Foundry has been a great VTT for me. I switched over from, what was I using before? Roll20. That's what I was using. No shade to Roll20. Nice and all that. But I don't like the way they manage your community, and I don't like, I just didn't like the interface. So this was a lot better. These are my characters from last time. Let me delete this and take you to where we're going to go. So this is the map from the module itself. In the original module, there's a cistern that the players can go down into and find a few. They can find someone from the Arcane Brotherhood there. There's no actual entrance into the Underdark. Again, that's all my ad. So I need, instead of this cistern, I need a D&D Undercroft. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for a map online. This is what I do, D&D Undercroft map. I go to images, and I hopefully find something I think is usable. You go to 2 Minute Tabletop. Pinterest is just chock full of maps. And I just need something they can walk around a little bit that looks like it's a little bit more than the Underdark and is bigger. I want it a little bit bigger than this region because this is, I don't know what to do with that, to be honest. It doesn't look like it has a connection to the Underdark. That's going to be a little anticlimactic if I show them that map. Maybe this one? Maybe? This is not bad. Yeah, I could say that that's the pathway. Well, could do something with this maybe. Let's see what else we got. I typed in D&D map Undercroft, by the way. This is a little big, but maybe this will do. I really don't mind that. The other thing I have to find is this big enough to actually use in some meaningful way? What I want is the players have this up in the top, up in the castle itself, is this, or I keep calling it a castle, it's a keep. They left off over in this tower. The players are on the roof of the tower, one level up. One player who was disguised with disguised self spell has gone in, tried to pass themselves off as a cultist, and got discovered. That's where we ended last session. So we're about to go into a combat. I described in the middle of here, most of this room is actually taken up with contraptions, with mechanical contraptions of wood and metal. That is a big elevator shaft. It looks like a minecart shaft that goes down into the bedrock. And that's the pathway down into the Underdark. I talked last session about a trap. I set up a whole trap for that. The players don't know it's coming, but there's a big trap that they get halfway down, and if they don't catch it, this boulder will fall down on them, smash the elevator, damage some of them, and send the rest of them plummeting down the bottom of the shaft. So that says to me, when I designed this Undercroft level, I don't want to create a tough fight down there, because if they get down there, having been hit with 46 damage from this boulder and another 46 damage from the fall, they're only 3rd level. They'll be almost dead. So And if they don't get down there and it's not a tough fight, no one's going to care. They've already had a tough fight this last session. So there's no downside for me by creating give them a little bit of space, making it a little bit more of a plotting, suspenseful, and flavorful adventure. So I need a map to basically where they land instead of this area here, which doesn't feel too great. And I'll tell you why. It's just too small. What I need, maybe I should tell you this. I need a couple scenes out of this. And that's what I probably should do. Strong start, potential scenes. I have done most of these, by the way, so I can, in last session, this is just a copy of my notes. I don't need any of that. So I have a potential scene here, castle invade, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, nothing here. All these scenes are played out. I've done them all. So scene in the elevator room, elevator tower. What do I want out of that? That is over here. I'm considering making this. There's only two characters in here. One has 9 hit points, another has 7. The players don't know it, but they're going to burn through those characters. They're wounded and don't have a lot of healing left, so that's a good thing. There is a character over here who is 37 hit points, so he's actually quite good. He only has daggers. He has a couple other abilities that I haven't really dug into. I'd have to look him up on D&D Beyond. For some reason, they're not importing very well. But yeah, so there's this. The leader of the group is up here. This is a little fragmented too, because there's an old woman a floor up who also is supposed to provide some background, but the players didn't go up there. I'm just going to cut her. I don't really need her to be in this adventure. So I want this fight will play out. It will go fairly quickly. I don't really need. I had all of last session was a fight. It was actually quite a fun fight. That's what some of these characters are still on the map. Actually, I can remove them. And by the module itself, there's still 3 cultists here, and there's still 3 cultists there. I don't need any of that because I don't need to just send them into another fight to burn resources. Really, what I want is about a half a session where they'll wrap up this adventure here. So what I want out of it, I want them to do an encounter in this tower, go down the elevator, and I'll figure out what I want from this encounter. I want them to go down from the elevator, get into the Undercroft. I might want them to run into one more fight with some cultists that are wounded down there. Yeah, that's what I want. I want them to get into the room with cultists, and that speaker who's sort of hanging from energy shackles with that infernal and scrolled contract, and they will hear a voice. That's what I want. All right, so I want them to finish a fight in this tower to gain access to the Undercroft. In the Undercroft, I want them to have a small obstacle they'll hit that trap. They'll have a small obstacle with some cultists guarding that contract. I also want them to understand, because right now they just know it's Leviticus, this Prince of Hell called Leviticus, but they haven't heard much. So I want them to overhear Leviticus talking to the cultists. So cultists being chastised by the Prince of Hell. And there's multiple Princes of Hell, obviously. So scene in the elevator tower, to gain access. What do I want out of this? Gain access to the Undercroft. And it's not really an Undercroft. I keep using that term, but it's not just whatever level that's first entrance to the Underdark croft. But I'll call it that because that's working for me. I want them to elevate. That will be elevator trap. Elevator. I'm not spelling it right. Trap. So they'll go through that encounter. That tells them that these are smart people. And then I want them to encounter to get basically a lore dump without it being a lore dump. I want them to overhear the stakes. So I have to give the players a reason to pause and hear what is going on with the cultists. So Leviticus is chastising. Oh, I want to make them evil, right? Leviticus is demanding a price for their failure. Is demanding price for the cultist failure. He's a disembodied voice talking to them through. Ooh, that's even better. Through the mouth of the the speaker who's being in those energy shackles, it will be his mouth that's moving, but this demon, this devil prince voice coming out of it through the mouth of the speaker held by energy change. So that's great. So the players will get to the edge. So what do I need out of the map? I don't want these cultists alerted to the presence of the player. So I need the players to be able to get down there without having been heard. And the risk here is that if they set off the trap in the elevator, that boulder will come crashing down. That's going to be quite loud. It'll hit the ground. The players will hit the ground. So that room can't be anywhere near where the players come landing. And there's no guard post because the guards are at the top of the elevator, not at the bottom. So that's what I need out of a map. I need them to have the encounter at the entrance to the elevator at the top of it. I need them to be able to get through that trap with one way or another, whether it's triggered or not triggered, and get a moment to catch their breath. Because if they're attacked right away, that would be bad because half of the players might have fallen to the bottom of the shaft and the other half might be up in the shaft. That would not be a great time to throw a fight at the players. So I don't want them to feel this sense of urgency. I want them to be able to pursue healing. So I need a place that's big enough that they can land without feeling like they have alerted all of these guards, and then they can sort of go further into this region, start hearing a loud wail, and go to investigate. So that's what I want out of it. I want some control flow, because after that, that's the real climax. They undo this zone, they bring down the magical region, they shut down the pathway to the Underdark, and then there's a bit that I will tease to them of the next set of adventures that's basically level 5 to 7. But that's a difficult thing to do. Matt Colville has a great video about this, about showing the bad guy to the players as early as possible, way before they're ever able to do anything about them, because it seeds in their mind who these bad guys are. So it's hard to do specifically in these chapter transitions, because you want the players to feel like they've scored a victory, that the world has changed because of their action. So if you come in too hard and now there's somebody more powerful out there, it sort of undermines and takes away this feeling of success that they had from this chapter end you're trying to create. But you want to do it lightly enough that they feel like they can go to the next place. So you want it to feel almost like an epilogue, not the chapter end. So I think what I'm going to do, again, I just need a map for this. I'm really picky about my maps. I'm kind of terrible. I like this a lot better. This is really what I need. Okay, hopefully it's big enough. It's only 500 by something else. So let's see what we got here. Where is this? Open my image, Google. One of the downsides of finding maps for me it's on Roll20 Marketplace. So somebody's selling it. I don't want to use their map if they're selling it. Poop. All right, let's see what else we can find. Are these all Roll20? Yeah, these are all Roll20 Marketplace. Great maps, though. I might have to make one in Dungeon Draft, and I'm not going to spend a tremendous time on here. That's one of my downsides, researching, this isn't good enough, I need something more out of this. That's something I do with myself all the time, and I sort of really undermine my own feelings here. This is another map I could do. Yeah. Well, this doesn't leave me much to go. I was saying I could have the elevator or shaft sort of land here, the player, and then cut this off so the players never see it with the wall system in virtual tabletop. But yeah, they're not gonna. I don't have enough room to like have a rock fall and then cultists worshiping somewhere else that they haven't heard them. So yeah, I can't. It'd be nice if I had some other room on the other side of that little underground river. Otherwise, this would be perfect. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look for something a little bit later. Like this might be it. This might be it with this under chamber. I don't know. I can't find something right now. I'm gonna have to look around a little bit and see if I can find a better map. But I will keep a lookout for this. If you have a map suggestion, by the way, please go ahead and drop them in chat. I'd love to get your suggestions. I'll look it up during the week. So anyway, that's what I need. So the climactic fight, which I don't want to be, sounds like it's with this cultist. I don't want it to be. I don't want it to be a major. They're going to be very wounded, probably. I want it to be a somewhat of a fight. So that's that's what I'll do. So let me list these. Let me list these scenes again. Cultists being chat. So the over here, players over here hear a loud screech sound. Cultist being chastised by the Prince of Hell. Leviticus is demanding a price for the cultist's failure. Disembodied voice coming from the mouth of the speaker who is held in these energy chains. They demand, Prince of Hell demands the sacrifice of one of them. And that will be Derek, which you don't know. Derek. So the player who used disguise self in last session, he disguised himself as one of these members of the cult, and he disguised himself as one of the people who came back to life. And so when he went in, they called him Derek. I just needed a name. So he just said, "Damn it, Derek!" And so that's this character. That's this NPC's name now. So they're going to demand Derek will be killed, will be sacrificed for his failure. And I'll set up these cultists as not very good people, right? I think I'm drinking out of my bottle. I should be drinking out of my cup. By the way, I want to bring that up. There was a great session, great thing that happened in the last session that only can happen in Dungeons and Dragons games. What had happened was the players were up here on the top of this wall and tower. The player character, who's an illusionist wizard, had cast disguise self on themselves to look like one of these cultists, so they can go around, take a look around, ask some questions, maybe use their deception. This was important game-wise because this character is an illusionist. They chose the illusionist profession, but they've sucked at illusions. They've tried to use phantasmal force, and I am not sure that the bad guys have ever failed to save against any of these illusion abilities they've tried to use before when they've had saved opportunities. So instead, they used disguise self to no save for it, which is great. And then they so I really wanted to make I've been looking for opportunities that if they use their illusion spells, give the players a feeling like this can be effective, so they don't feel like they're wasting all this money scribing spells for nothing, and give them some feeling of difference in the world. So what had happened is they went into this tower to the southeast here, ran into some more cultists, basically tipped the hat that something was wrong. The cultists went to chase them, so they ran out this door, slammed the door shut, went to the side, cast minor illusion of themselves running across the courtyard and up this other wall to get the bad guys to chase him. Worked like a charm. Bad guys come out the door, the player's hiding behind the door. They see this illusion of the player character going up this wall on the other side of the courtyard. They give chase and they're all running across. The funny part was the other players who don't know any of this is happening are up on the wall above. They haven't seen the player come out of this door. All they see is their friend, their party mate, being chased across the courtyard by the bad guys. So they immediately begin to attack the bad guys to save their buddy, who they didn't know was an illusion. So a comedy of errors just unfolded into a lot of action, and it was perfect. It was just that's the only kind of thing that's emergent gameplay. That's the only kind of thing that can happen. Do epic shit on my mug, by the way. That's the only the kind of thing you can get out of the interaction of the players' plots with the NPCs in the world, and it's one of the reasons I love gaming. So anyway, that was an aside, but that was just a really excellent moment in the last game. Through that, though, the players were hurt pretty bad. So here they are, they're hurt, and I still want all of this stuff to unfold for them. So that brings me back to plot. What do I want out of this encounter? Where we left off is they went through this big fight. They realized they don't know it, but they took out the big bad guys that were to fight up here. These two people at this guardhouse were the cultist sort of clerics. They were the most powerful of the bad guys here to face. There are bad guys in the module left in both of these towers. The players don't know that, so I'm just going to have them evaporate. There's really no point to having them there because I would just be a filler fight, and I don't want that. The action is over here in this elevator down into the Underdark. I have a fight with two NPCs that's going to go quick, and I have a boss NPC over here. So what I think I'm going to have, I don't want just another fight. I don't want fight after fight after fight after fight. So what I want out of this is potential scenes. seen at the top of the elevator trap that comes afterwards once they go down it. So they'll run across the boss, fight with the cultist. You know what? I want some role playing. So I am going to have this person try to trick them. Yes, this is a tougher NPC, but the players can burn through him, no problem. So he's going to surrender. So fight with the cultist. Eventually, leader hears them fighting and comes out. He's like, what's happening here? He's going to give him that kind of, here, hold your actions. So he's going to threaten the players first. He's going to try to threaten and then make a deal with. Threat the players, then try to make a deal, then try to subvert them, then try to basically con them, then try to surrender. He's just going to give in. All right, I can't beat you. Fine, I'll go with you. The reason he's going to do that is he knows about this elevator trap. He's going to be on it. The power these cultists get is they can die and come back. So he knows it. He's going to go down. If he can convince it, fine. I'll take you to the master. He'll give up. There's a member of the Arcane Brotherhood hiding in the basement that's brokering this deal. They're casting all the spells. They're the ones who set up the spells to bind this person, to summon the devils, to have the conversation with in the first place, and to really make this a stronger thing. What the Arcane Brotherhood wants out of this is for the next chapter. It's not for this one. They're minor characters here. I'm just going to tease something with them at the end. So what's going to happen is he's going to offer the players that there's a member of the Arcane Brotherhood below. They'll take them to them if they'll give him if they'll let him go first, and if they don't agree to that, give him a fair trial. Now that's a con job. He knows that if he dies in this trap on the elevator, Leviticus will just bring him back. So he wants to do is get them to go down this elevator about and not look for traps. If they do that, halfway down, he'll like close his eyes. He'll sort of hold his head to the sky, and he says, Leviticus has his hands on me. I am a steady servant, and do something like that. And the players will hear the boulder dislodge from above them and begin to plummet towards the elevator. They can have a round to do whatever they want. If they say quickly, I jump onto the edge of the scaffolding or something, I give them advantage on the save against the trap. But either way, the boulder will hit the elevator, smash it to pieces, and then plummet to the ground. And any players who have failed their saving throw, again, it might be advantage if they react right away, they will plummet. So they'll take damage from the fall. If they, at that point, they have to make an athletics check to grab onto the scaffolding at the side. If they don't, they'll now fall another 40 feet and take another 4d6 damage. So this can be quite a deadly trap. And what I like about it is it happens over several rounds. The players have to use skills to hold on to the edge of the elevator shaft. It's likely we're going to get a few players at the bottom of the shaft. They might even be at 0 hit points, bleeding out, and some players have to figure out how they get down quickly to stabilize them. So it can create a lot of tension here, which is why I don't want to fight at the bottom of that elevator shaft. It's just too much. As a game master, I have to think through too. This is something I always suggest for you. This is the deadly trap. Have a backup plan if all of the rolls go south, because I like to roll and have things go the way they do. I like to see where the dice take us. But so I don't fudge dice rolls, but I do have levers and dials that I turn as a DM to keep things from getting out of hand, especially if I overshot the mark, because it's a trap I added to the module. It does not exist. So as every game master has this moment where they think, oh boy, I went a little too hard there. I didn't intend to do that. Sometimes they're tempted to fudge dice rolls. I don't think you should do that, one. But two, you don't need to do that. You can do it in other ways. So I always have a contingency plan. So if all of the players fall, they all are making saves, they're going to wake up as prisoners to these cultists down below. Then I'll figure something else out. Actually, I already know what I want to do. So I will, and if my players see this later, sorry, I'm cheating. And you're seeing how I'm cheating. There'll be a member of the Harpers below, which the players have been allied with for some time. I haven't gotten into that, but they've been allied. There'll be a member of the Harpers held prisoner down there who will help them escape. That's what I'll have. Actually, I wouldn't even cheat. The players already know that there's a member of the Harpers in the community because they've been passing secret notes. They don't know who it is. So what I will have happen is if players get caught and captured, this Harpers member will infiltrate the keep itself and help them escape. That's what I'll have. So I just take it. I can keep that in mind, but Harper subplot, I'll put in here Harper subplot as a backup. Nothing really to do there. So that's what I'll do for like a back out. If the players all fall unconscious, I'll just say they're stabilized. They wake up sort of in a ritual room with some of these cultists around them, and they'll have the Arcane Brotherhood sort of sneering at them and teasing them. That's going to be a bummer. That's going to be a very Empire Strikes Back moment, because if this happens, I've already set the stakes with the players. I'll tell you how I did that in a second, because that's another good technique. If this happens, if the players fail to shut down the supply lines from the Duragar, if they fail to stop this magical zone, what will happen is the Chartland Syndicate will take over the Speakers Council. They'll overthrow the Speakers Council, they'll stage a coup, and they will take over the 10 towns. So by the time the players emerge, the 10 towns have already gone another way. So that will be a big sort of downside. I mean, I don't know what the players will choose to do. Maybe they'll do a frontal assault and start killing Speakers Council, new Speakers Council, like syndicate members. I hope not, but maybe not. I mean, it's their choices. So like the worst it can go is that way. But the yeah. So anyway, I hope instead they'll unravel this. So the Speakers Council will is at stake here. That's what we've already said. So with the technique I talked about before. So I used a cutaway technique that Game Masters, you probably heard before. But players going down at the end of last session, as I said, it ended with them in the entrance elevator to the Underdark and them about to get into a fight with these cultists. But at the very end, I did a cutaway. I cut away, say you're not here for this, but somehow you'll realize it later. And I described the scene at Bryn Shander that it's a meeting of the Speakers Council to come together to vote on the fate of this magic item that the players recovered a couple of sessions ago called the Cauldron of Plenty, which could feed some people in the town, but there's an argument over how it should be divided, like you would expect there to be. And I got in here that the Speakers Council, the Chartland Syndicate, begins to make a speech about how they're the only ones able to bring stability, and the people are sort of riled up because I've been teasing in previous adventures. There's been a few riots and some strife around this, and that they're about to attack the council to try to take it over. That's where I left it in this sort of narrative, meta narrative for the players. So they know what's at stake in the 10 towns. The payoff will be if the players shut down the wagons, I'll go back to the shut down the supply lines. I'll go back to that interlude and say that the town folk begin to respond to them about well, you haven't been able to supply us either, and that they're not throwing in with them. So this will undercut them. So this is a best case scenario, and they won't be able to take over. So instead, what the Chartland Syndicate will do is they'll have the ruffians come forward and attempt to seize the Cauldron of Plenty, and this will be one other payoff. I've set up, this has been several sessions ago, I think she's still in here in NPCs. I've set up an NPC. I've said that the plot line for the Harpers is that they were all wiped out, except a precious few, that the leaders, they're extremely secret because they're worried about assassins. So the leaders of the Harpers, because one of the players has the Harpers background, is this NPC called Beldora Nine Dogs. I think she was named in the module, but I gave her all of this backstory where she basically has a business. She trains all of the sled dogs that are so common in the night. She can't talk. She's a spy. She runs this ultra hard spy ring. Ironically, I was in the Army Intelligence Corps, so I'm pushing that a little too hard. But the payoff here was that if the players have stopped the wagons, if the Chartland Syndicate has to try to steal the cauldron and get away with it, it'll look like in the little description I'll tease that it looks like they're getting away with it. But at the last minute, all of the sled dogs will turn on the Chartland Syndicate and attack them. And then the townsfolk attack them as well. So this hopefully, I hope, you never know what will come across the players, but I want this to be a moment of the player's feeling like, yeah, that's my dudes. That player will know immediately that this is Beldora, and she's been setting up some like master chess level pieces to get things in place and have these dogs. She's been distributing her trained dogs throughout the 10 towns for like a decade, and now this is the big payoff that they turn on, and they'll feel like they're connected to this master spy ring or something like that. If it doesn't go that way, it's going to be harder to set up. It's, like I said, it'll be an Empire Strikes Back moment where the players will be feeling kind of like bummed out. But them's the breaks, man. That's gaming. So I want that to tease it. So how does this whole thing get teased? And if you have any suggestions, by the way, drop them in the chat. I'm guessing here. I'm just trying to get from one thing to the next and make this ball of twine that I've been winding, unwind in some sort of logical fashion. So I think that'll be narratively a good pause. The players will have defeated these cultists. They'll shut down the supply line. Now the tease. What's the tease for the next chapter? So the close of the chapter is they've secured the 10 towns. Or the close of the chapter is that Empire Strikes Back, where the 10 towns have just plummeted into more chaos. They're controlled now by the Chartland Syndicate, who doesn't care about them and just going to do profit and squeeze this region for everything they can get. And the people are going to be worse off. So that it ends one way or another. So we'll see where it goes. The next chapter, though, is to set up this area-wide adventure. So if you go to the map of Icewind Dale itself, the 10 towns are this small region sort of in the center. The way the map, this is my line from last time, I use this single player icon to say where they are. The next sort of chapter in Icewind Dale is these greater area-wide adventures against things like Goliath villages and Storm Giant clans, and there's a great encounter with a whale that can travel underwater and let the players ride on its back. It's really, really great. It really amps up the fantastic nature of the things. The climax of this chapter, the third chapter, is to unravel these two conspiracies that I have, which are the Arcane Brotherhood trying to take advantage of these Mind Flayer artifacts that are in the area and the magical effects that Oriel is trying to do. So they're trying to milk this for power of their own. They don't care about the good of the people, and they'll let it go. And the region for the Everwinter that's come through by Oriel, the Ice Maiden. So I want to tease that next bit with the Arcane Brotherhood. So the way I'm going to do that is, since the Arcane Brotherhood has been tacitly helping the cultists and working with the Chartland Syndicate during this time, they're going to go in, they're going to find a member of the Arcane Brotherhood in the basement here with them, but this is going to be like one of these magnificent mansion spells. They're going to open some weird closet door, and it's going to enter into this magnificent tower, and there's going to be a force wall. They'll have where they can't get past. They'll have this Chartland Syndicate, or not Chartland Syndicate, it can be Arcane Brotherhood member who's an albino tiefling with gargoyles near them. That's way more powerful than they can handle. And they're just going to be collecting up their papers, getting ready to, using a device that the player character wizard will be able to tell is going to change the entrance for this magnificent mansion. And they're going to say, "You pissants, do you know what you've cost me? I've come to shape the world, and I have to deal with people like you and failures like them. This is unbelievable." And they'll be almost like talking to themselves. The players are beneath their notice. They'll say, and they'll also enjoy the world you've created. It won't last you long. And they'll just do some kind of Bigby's hand, shove the players out of the entrance of it. It will collapse as the magical vortex sort of collapses in on itself and the tower moves. And that's what the players they won't fight with this person. They won't do anything like that. They really won't be able to affect them. It'll just tease them to what's happening in the greater region. So I have to give them something where they say, it doesn't really matter by now. I've gotten what I want. Then that's what I'll have. So I want to tease this idea I've been teasing this idea of the Mind Flayer artifacts so far. What I want is that when they see this member of the Arcane Brotherhood, they're going to have a Mind Flayer on like a leash, like some pathetic looking wounded, like severed arm, or several severed tentacles. That's what it will be. So I need to put in here. Arcane Brotherhood. Capture these ideas. Force wall. while cutting players off. I already have this somewhere. Yeah, fighting cultist. I have this somewhere. Anyway, force wall is cutting players off at the entrance. Device up front that creates the mansion. Ooh, even better. It's a mind flayer device. One of the MacGuffins I set up that I've been teasing, it has not been a strong element of this. And one of the party backstories is they want to find out what the Arcane Brotherhood is doing here, but that's way too high level for them. So they found out because there is an encounter with a crashed Nautiloid ship. And a matter of fact, I ran a one-shot adventure with the other players in an off session one time where they were in the jungles of Chult, and it turns out that it is a backstory to how the ship got there, which was a great technique. And watching the players realize at the end of that seemingly random one-shot that, oh my God, this is connected to our campaign, was a great moment as a DM. But anyway, there's a plot there with it later. So the plot I set up for the Arcane Brotherhood is they are looking for these magical devices that the Mind Flayers use to create magic items that can do things like maintain concentration for you and do a bunch of things that break the normal rules of magic and give them a hand up. But they have to be created by torturing people's minds, by stealing part of their soul and seizing and infusing it into this crystal. The players don't want it because it's obviously evil, but they want to stop. The Arcane Brotherhood wants to get to it. So they know that the Arcane Brotherhood is already looking for the Mind Flayers. So if they go into they'll go into this door, they'll realize it's a magnificent mansion. The device itself that creates the mansion will be one of these crystal skulls, because that's what I've set up. They look like crystal because they house the spirit and the mind of the person tortured to take this power from. That's how they set it up before. You torture these people in an imaginary world, and whatever power they're reaching for in this imaginary world, you're able to. The Mind Flayers are able to bind it to this crystal to make this magic item. And so they'll device up front that creates a mansion will be a Mind Flayer device. They'll go and begin to adjust it so that the players will know, oh my God, they're moving the entrance. And I'll let the player Arcana check. I'll make the player make an Arcana check. Arcana DC. I usually do DC 15 for something that a professional, it would take a professional to know. No, the entrance will implode when it shifts. So tell the players they need to get out. So if they don't, the Arcane Brotherhood will push them. No, actually, I would leave it like a bomb. It's like that scene of Predator. So yes, that's right. So what I want instead, I was thinking maybe they'll push them out of the doorway into the hall and they slam the door and it changes or something. But actually, I love that moment in Predator when when Arnold Schwarzenegger is looking at the Predator who's laughing and setting the bomb off and realizing, oh my God, this is going to go up. So instead, the wizard is going to have to realize that they turn this crystal skull. The wizard just counting on them being caught in the implosion at the entrance, that they'll know they're caught on this dimensional threshold that itself, if they're caught here, will implode and collapse and cause some damage. Players can realize that. And it'll explode, and if it doesn't, the players it collapses on them, they take some damage, they'll fall outside. I'll just give them enough damage. I'll make it up on the spot, basically enough to knock a few of them out and keep a few others up, so they'll feel like this was something. If they're wounded, if they're not, I'm not going to do it from full strength. So yeah, that's what I'll do. So after they get through, they'll go down this. They'll get in a fight with the. That's a good solid session. They'll get a fight in the elevator room with these cultists. The boss of the cultists comes in, realizes he can't beat them. He'll try to make a deal with them. He'll try to trick them if he can't make a deal into going down the elevator. With hopes that this trap will wipe them out, knowing he'll be killed, but he'll be brought back by the Prince of Hell he made a deal with. The players will regroup at the bottom of that elevator shaft, either having set the trap off or found it. Even if they don't, what I love about this is if they find it, they've cut this deal with the boss, who they'll realize, they'll feel smart. If they find it, if they think to look and find the trap, and none of them actually, I don't think, have that skill, they'll feel very smug and smart, which is great. It's great for players to feel like they got one over on the DM, and the DM like, ooh, I dodged a bullet there. But if they don't realize it, which I don't think they will actually, so it'll be interesting to see. I'll catch up next week with you to see if they bought it. My prediction is they will not look and they will not realize they need to. And if they don't, they will realize these people are evil and deceitful, and then maybe it'll tell them something about the DM, and the DM can be a little hard on them too, which is good. The players should feel the DM is going to give it to them. They this way, any victory they have feels earned. That's the reason why I tend to be I play pretty close to the rules. I won't say I never stretch the rules. I usually at most stretch them. Very rarely do I break them. But I mean, I can. I'm not above. I use all my tools in my toolboxes. But left to my own devices, I try as hard as I can to stick to the rules, to run things as the rules say they do, to let the dice tell the story along with the player actions, because I like the sense of emergent gameplay. And if I'm not doing that, then why are we playing? Why don't they just tell me some cool thing they do and I say, okay, that works, and we move on to the next thing. I like them to not just have the illusion of earning something, but to have actually earned it. Like I will let a player fail. I hate it. I don't like it. It's no fun for me as a DM. But I feel like it's necessary. If you're going to create tension in a game, I do. Other people feel other ways, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with different opinions on this, but that's mine. That's my those are my thoughts on it. So yeah, so that's what I'm going to do. So anyway, hopefully the players won't realize that well, actually hopefully, I don't care. Either way works out really well for me as a DM. So that trap, they'll get through the trap on the way down the elevator. If they still have the boss, they'll go to the, or it doesn't matter if they have the boss or not. They'll get down, they'll go further into the undercroft. There'll be some mine tracks or something like that, minecart tracks to say where the stuff is coming from. The two things they need to discover down, there's three really, but two things they need to discover for to close the chapter are that these cultists and that room that the disembodied voice is basically doing a lore dump without telling them that it's a lore dump. Kill the cultist and the infernal contract that keeps the region locked in a magical winter. And then they'll see a underground river that they realize that the supplies are coming up this river, and that's how the Duergar are getting supplies to them. So all they have to do is remove it's been dammed up. That's created an opportunity for the river to be used as a traffic point. They'll just undam the river. The river will flood the cavern again, and they won't have to worry about supplies anymore from the Duergar. Alternatively, though, the players might choose to try to cut a deal with the Duergar, because the Duergar want a whole separate thing I'm not going to get into here. The Duergar don't care about people. They're undermining something that will come for a later plot too. So they might be willing to cut a deal with the player characters to keep these supplies going. But it would have to be what the Duergar want out of that is destabilizing 10 towns. And if they don't think the players this would do that for them, they're not going to do it. But there's possibility. Players might be able to get creative and cut that deal. So I want those two things out of it. The third thing I want is at the end, I want them to realize that there's a magical hidden door that they get behind. In matter of fact, I need to take a note of that. It needs to be a magical hidden door. Arcane Brotherhood, magical hidden door. How do they reveal it? That's a good question. The reason why I want it to be magical is because and hidden. So I'll on the other side, and matter of fact, I'll make it on the other side of the cultist room. On the other side of, because I don't want the players to go there before the fight with the cultist, and I don't want the Arcane Brotherhood person participating with them. I just want them to kind of get there as a coda to the adventure itself. So how is it hidden? I will say so. Oh well. How is it hidden? I don't know. Magical hidden door on the other side of the cultist room. Maybe it doesn't have to be hidden. I'll figure something out. Oh, I think I know what I want. It has to be painted on the wall. So it'll be like a Wile E. Coyote painted doorway that is magical and forms an entrance, a pathway. So it's all right. to the magical tower. So what the players will realize is a possibility of these other painted doors out there. That this painted door creates a way to access this magic tower, and the mage shutting it down, which is what will be that portal collapse. So there'll be something MacGuffin. I need some kind of magic item like a crystal key. Oh, that's what it'll be. Key. A crystal key that looks like there's a special crystal for these mind flayer items that I've described before. So they'll find a crystal key. On the major, on one of the cultists, on the boss. That looks like the crystal from the mind flayers. From the mind flayers. Mind flayers. Yeah. So that's how they'll get in. That won't be a major part of the action. It'll just be them figuring out what they want to do. The downside is they might decide, oh, we're going to do a long rest before we head in. I don't really care. I'll let them just go through it. Which is all that is fine with me. Okay. So yeah, that's a pretty good adventure. I think I have a great way to wrap it up. So the players will get into a fight at the elevator shaft. They'll get into a negotiation with the leader who will try to trick them into triggering this trap. They may or may not be wounded by the trap. They'll have a final fight with the cultist in this room when they'll have an opportunity to shut down both the Duragar supply line and end this infernal contract that's brought this magical region on the area. And depending on the outcome, whether they succeed or fail, either the 10 towns fall under the sway of the Charterland Syndicate, which means the bad guys basically won in this middle chapter, or they've freed the area of the influence of the Charterland Syndicate. They've got the payoff of their allies who they've positioned to defend the 10 towns. And then they've run across the Arcane Brotherhood at the end, teasing this wider area conspiracy that they'll have to do in the next chapter. They'll wrap it up. They'll hit 4th level. They'll go back to their patron, rest a little bit, decide what they want to do and launch off next. And that will be a good wrap up to the adventure. Yeah, I think that's all good. I have a couple contingencies. If things go south, I know they'll get captured. I know that even if they get captured, to think about the Harpers helping to spring them out of being captured is that I need to make I've been making the Harpers very smart, very secretive. So all of this involvement and staying secret with the Harpers will pay off. As a matter of fact, I'm going to take a note. Oh, I was going to say one of the cultists has turned. No, it couldn't be. There's no way the cultist could disguise. A Harper could disguise. Oh, a Harper could disguise himself as a cultist. That's what back up. Disguised with disguised self as a cultist. So what the players did before, they'll do the same thing. Okay. And then, so at the end, they will have either freed the 10 towns or not. They'll run across the Arcane Brotherhood member who will give them some sneering dialogue, set them up for the next adventure, and then they'll look at the wider world. So that's basically it. Okay, we're right at an hour. 2 minutes over. An hour is good enough, though. All right. I was a little all over the map here. I'm doing mostly session prep. I didn't have a lot of chat here. I see a few people have attended, so lurkers are fine. Great, welcome. It's great to have you here. I hope you will go ahead and follow me on my blog, on Twitter, on Instagram, on all the social medias. Go like, subscribe, follow, all of those great things. It really does help me out if you'll share it on your social media if you think is useful. Specifically on my blog, there were 2 posts I made this week, and I want to point out because I hope they'll help game masters who might be struggling with this issue. One is on my observations of having a lifelong struggle with anxiety myself, how the number one question I hear often from game masters is, how do I deal with DM anxiety? So I wrote a post about that, my best advice for how you can manage your anxiety and still run great D&D games. It's been very effective for me. It may or may not be effective for you, but it's worth considering. So you can find that on optionalrule.com. And another post I made is I made a great great. I call it great. I made a safety and consent checklist for use with Session 0. Session 0 is very important. I break down a little bit of why it's very important, and I link the tools that I created that include a link to that safety and consent checklist. All of that went on my blog this week. I hope you'll check it out. If you search for it on the blog, you should be able to find it if you're seeing this video later. But I hope it's helpful to you, and please go ahead and share that far and wide as well. Share it on Reddit, share it on Twitter, share it on wherever you think it might be useful. But I hope, if you think it's useful, I hope people will get something out of it. I think this is a really important part of enjoying D&D more and enjoying your tabletop role-playing experience. All right. That is it for me. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up today. I want to thank you for joining me. I hope you'll do the social media things. I hope you will join me in future sessions. I stream live every Saturday at noon Eastern time. So go ahead and come in here. I love to get chats too. So go ahead and drop a comment later if you've seen this in YouTube. Join me in future sessions. Go ahead and say hi in chat. It would be great to talk to you there. I hope you have a great week, and I will talk to you next week. So remember, until next week, fun is not optional. Thanks, everybody. Take care.
I feel